Well, that didn't go as expected. What's going on, guys? JHoyt back with you today. Welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. We actually had a couple of videos absolutely pop off recently. So for those new folks that have just joined in, hit the subscribe button, been commenting on my videos. Welcome. Thank you very much for checking out my content. If you like it, you want to stick around, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But we are here the Monday after Call of Duty Champs, after an event, of course. And we're back with the recap. And like I said in the intro, that's not how it was expected to go. So let's start, of course, in the winners bracket, round number 1. Winners bracket actually went pretty standard of how you'd expect, right? Faze beat the Surge 3-1. You know, exactly kind of how we expected. Like, maybe Surge could have won, you know, a map in there, but ultimately, like, it was going to be Faze that ended up winning that one. Second matchup, you have the Toronto Ultra versus LA Thieves. You know, like I said in the predictions video, that one could have gone either way. Toronto actually ended up winning that one. I think we had LA Thieves winning that one, and then Toronto dropping down, and then Faze beating Thieves there. But either way, Ultra does move on there. They beat the Thieves. Thieves drop down. Then you have OpTic Texas versus the Boston Breach. Kind of as expected, Boston was able to get a map out of it. OpTic does win though, 3-1. So again, as expected. Our last matchup of the winners bracket features the New York Subliners versus the Minnesota Rocker. And this is the one matchup I'm kind of surprised about, only because you wouldn't expect this matchup to be a game 5. You know, we kind of predicted that one to be, you know, more of a clear-cut win for the Subliners, but they do end up getting it done. So we're going to jump down to the elimination bracket round 1, because this is where it actually got pretty crazy. So first round matchup, Seattle Surge versus the LA Thieves. Now, when we saw this matchup in, I think it was going to be Toronto Surge, I think is what we had. I don't remember 100%. But we predicted whoever wasn't in this matchup that it wasn't the Surge. And oh boy, was this a good series. So although LA Thieves won it last year, they end up getting taken out in the double first round. So the defending world champs are knocked out of the tournament in the top 8. Surge move on to the next round. Next matchup, like we talked about, could have been a toss-up either way. Boston Breach end up winning this one 3-1. So again, not really too surprised about that one. But jumping back up to the winners bracket, round number 2, we had Faze Ultra. Now, this was a big case of Ultra peaking at the right time, because Faze hasn't been their usual, like, absolute dominant selves. They've been really good, and they've been able to beat some of the top teams, but they haven't felt as dominant as they have been this year. They've kind of seemed normal and like a good team, but kind of hasn't seemed like the elite of the elite, if that makes sense. But either way, Ultra do win this one 3-1, knocking Faze down to the losers bracket. So obviously that's a big defeat for the Toronto boys. On to the second matchup, featured OpTic Texas versus the New York Subliners. And although I know myself and another person were commenting in the last video that they were surprised that I picked OpTic over New York. And the big reason was, and the same thing I told that person in the comments section, so thank you if you are watching this. I do appreciate, you know, any and all conversation you guys love to comment with. But what I said was basically both teams at their absolute, you know, tip-top form. I felt like OpTic had the edge. Now, obviously, OpTic's behind me in 2 different ways that a little bit of biasy, of course, is always going to be in my predictions videos, that I'm going to predict OpTic to beat most teams. But in this case, I felt like if OpTic would have beat Boston, which they did, would have beat New York, and assuming my predictions were correct, that Faze was in the winners finals, I felt like that was the best case for them to get to the grand finals and possibly win. because at that rate, Elliott Thieves would be in the losers bracket, Surge would be down there, Ultra would be down there, Subliners would be down there, and then you only have to face one of those teams. And at the end of the day, you know, depending on who it was, you know, I would have felt pretty confident in that matchup for OpTic, you know, if, you know, OpTic's top form came out. However, you know, it didn't in this case, where they end up losing versus the New York Subliners 3-1. You know, I just hate to say it, but there was a couple plays that if they go the opposite way, it goes game 5, and then, you know, who knows what happened in game 5. But, you know, a couple plays did lead to kind of the end of the, was it the last hard point, I think it was, where I don't remember who it was, but one player made a mistake and it basically lost on the map for it, like at the very end. Now, obviously, it was, you know, the whole game, not just, you know, one play, but still, it could have been very much different at the end. So if you watched it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like I said, I don't remember the player offhand, but still. Down to the elimination bracket for top 6, we had OpTic Texas versus the Seattle Surge, and in an absolute heartbreaking fashion, OpTic Texas was knocked out by Seattle. A very difficult loss to deal with because, like I said, if OpTic, no, obviously we predicted them to be in the winner's bracket at this point, but if they would have won this matchup, they would have had to face off against Faze in the next matchup, in which I'm pretty confident with. Then they're top 4, then they'd be top 3, and then, you know, obviously then we'd have a different conversation. But still, I did feel pretty confident about the rebound for OpTic, and unfortunately it didn't really come true. But OpTic does get knocked out top 6. Obviously, a very heartbreaking end to the year after Scump retired, Illy in the lineup with injury, Dashy out of the lineup, Hook in the lineup, and then finally at this the final 4, if you will, with Ghosty. You know, obviously it was a crazy year and a lot to build on for the green wall. But obviously, Elliott Thieves knocked out, OpTic knocked out. Now we're on to the rest of the tournament. But on to our next matchup, had Atlanta Faze versus the Boston Breach. And kind of as expected, given the matchup that we see as expected, Faze do get the victory 3-1. Then you have Surge versus Faze. Kind of as expected there, the rematch from round 1. We had the same score, 3-1 in favor of Faze. So Faze moves on to top 3. Up to our winners bracket finals, though, we have Toronto Ultra versus the New York Subliners, and Ultra 3-0. Now, I did not watch any of Saturday after OpTic lost. Kind of a little bit, you know, sour after everything. You know, obviously, you know, Seattle and New York played really well, so I can't really, you know, be like, oh, OpTic deserved to win when, like, they didn't, right? They got outplayed, and that just sucks, because it's champs, and that's the end of the year. And obviously, we got a long time until the next game comes out, and definitely a long time until kind of anything else happens with professional Call of Duty. But Faze move on to the top 4. Ultra do get the 3-0 victory over New York. I think I just said that. So that drops Subliners down to face off against Faze in the elimination bracket final. New York Subliners win that one 3-1. And something cool out of all of this was this was the battle for the first European player to win a world championship. So that would have been really cool to see between, who was it? Was it the UK boys with like Hixie? No, it was Hixie American. I don't remember. With who else is on that team? With Insight and Kleenex and those guys versus Hydra. Like, it was a super cool story for the Battle of EU. So that was really cool. But like I said, Subliners Ultra to grand finals. And after the interview, apparently with Scrappy, or I think he just goes by Scrap now, that he was talking major shit in the post-game interview. They basically, I think he said something along the lines of like, once you shut down Hydra, the team's ass. And then New York Subliners come out of nowhere and basically speedrun the grand finals of Call of Duty Champs. They beat Toronto 5-0. That was insane. One of the hard points was like I think it was map 1 actually. The first hard point was like 250 to like 86. Like, absolutely just wiped the floor with them. you know, I didn't see the rest of it, but ended on the Game 5 Search and Destroy. And they speed run that. They are one of the teams that win 3 tournaments out of this year, right? Major 1, Major 5. Oh, wow. So Major 1, Major 5, and Champs. Like, that's pretty incredible to watch. I mean, like I said, them and Ultra peaked at the right time because, you know, what did I say? What did I say during my predictions? Either Faze, LA Thieves, Toronto, OpTic, or New York, one of those, I don't know why I counted 6. One of those 5 teams will win Champs. So I wasn't wrong. So whoever bet against me, pay up. I'm looking at you. But either way, New York Subliners, congratulations to the boys. As you can see on your screen, it's also going to be the thumbnail. They obviously won the championship. So Hydra, Kismet, Priesta, and Skies, along with coaches D-Real and Sender, along with, I don't know who Coach Matt Fisher is. But congrats to the New York Subliners, obviously being from New York. You know, it's really cool to see to win Champs. Obviously, I don't really necessarily root for them because obviously, where are they? There we go. Fingers work. There we go. Obviously, you guys know who I support by now. But we do have our final placements of the year, and you know we see them on your screen. New York Subliners, $1 million for that team. Toronto Ultra gets 2nd place with $660,000. It's a very interesting number. And then a Faze in 3rd place with $320,000. Seattle Surge in 4th with $160,000. Boston Breach and OpTic Texas both get 5th, 6th, and get $80,000 each. And then 7th, 8th place, you had Minnesota Rocker and LA Thieves. Both get $40,000. So like I said, congrats to the boys over there at the Subliners, Priesta, Kismet, Skies, and Hydra. You know, there's a lot to talk about with that team from this year. The fact that a lot of people didn't think this team was going to be good, and the fact that I even said I don't feel like this team was that good. You know, Kismet went from being like a good challengers player to kind of like bottom of the league team to like, all right, now he's one of your like mainstay, you know, submachine gun players. And, you know, that's just really cool to see. Obviously, Hydra, all the hype and everything that's been around him, you know, it's really cool to see. And at the end of the day, these guys win their first champs. And although we do get most of our predictions wrong, the OpTic Texas boys go home sad yet again. You know, I thought it was going to be a really cool story for Vegas to win and OpTic to win in the same year. That would have been really cool, but it doesn't end up that way. Again, congrats to the Subliners. Good try, everyone else. We'll see you next year as far as the CDL goes. Of course, we're going to have Call of Duty content throughout the summer and before the next Call of Duty comes out. So obviously, we're not going to be stopping with videos. Of course, NHL is still there and potentially going to be throwing some new ideas and kind of seeing how those play out. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below if you haven't yet. Or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe. Turn those post notifications on so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. With all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.